Explosive,
Yes.
and I'm 100% certain that we're going to see that right now in our round one feature match of YCS Milan. So let's take you to the table where Callum on the left-hand side from the UK is going up against Paolo on the right-hand side. And as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, we do have information for you. This is the hand that Paolo has drawn into, but it appears that Callum is going first. And this is his hand, and I wouldn't be surprised if his first play would be an upstart goblin here.
And there's two upstart goblins that have just come out, increasing Paolo's life points by 2,000. I mean, that's going to be a few scout searches. Although, as we say, Callum doesn't know that he's playing against Qliphort yet. He's played the carrier there, I believe, with a sacrifice.
It looks like he's out of cards in his hand, so he basically put all the cards on the field, which will be reflected in our app in just a second. There you go. This is his opening move, and now it's Paolo's turn. He's got a better opening, I would say, than the upstart goblin. He's using Summoner's Art.
He's got two Summoner's Art in hand, so that immediately means he's got two scouts in his hand, because Summoner's Art can only search for a normal monster with level 5 or higher. So the only card in your deck is
a scout. Yeah, that's a very interesting thing, because Summoner's Art, I mean, it's a very powerful tutor, but there have never been any good targets for it, I would say.
There was a long time ago, but not in a very long time.
So here we go with the first attempt to go for the scout play.
Scout paid 800. Of course, the life points. I'm not quite sure whether he paid the life points there before the Mystical Space Typhoon was used. Oh, yep, there we go.
Yeah, and
so
then he just changed the Mystical.
Yeah, because it's no longer on the field and it's been sent to the graveyard, he doesn't get his search. But the second Summoner's Art there, getting him another scout, so he's going to be able to make the play straight away again.
Right, so it looks like Callum is still in a very good position here.
Oh, he doesn't have that Mystical Space Typhoon set there anymore, so that scout is definitely going to go off.
Yeah, he doesn't have any more protection really, now, does he?
Well, he has the Solemn Warning to stop any sort of ideas of pendulum summoning, and the bottomless trap hole as well. Because all of the Qliphort monsters, when they come out, if they're pendulum summoned, they'll all be 1800 attack and level 4. They'll all be removed from play and destroyed by bottomless trap hole.
Yeah, which is very good against this particular archetype.
Yes.
So, yeah, looks like he's got some protection, but at the same time, he's going to pay a lot of life points for that. It's going to be some investment that he has to make. So let's take another look at Paolo's hand here.
Now, he's gone for the
second
Qliphort disc there.
Ah, yeah. This is his search target for Qliphort Scout. Let's bring that up for you guys.
Now, if he goes for a major play here without protection... Oh, no, he's just going for a straight-up carrier.
And it looks like... I can't imagine that Callum is not going to respond to that.
Well, he's playing it safe at the moment, because he knows that there's a disc in hand there. And if he was to actually do what would be the one-turn kill of this deck, is essentially to put carrier into the pendulum zone, pendulum summon the scout, and then equip it with sacrifice, tributing it for disc. Disc would then have 2,800 monsters. If he's waiting for it, oh, there we go, the bottomless trap hole takes it out, so it's not going to the extra deck there, so he's not going to be able to get it back out. If he was to go for that now, he risks the fact that his discs will be destroyed at the end of the turn. That's why Skill Drain, I believe he's got there, well, he's just set, is a very important card in this deck.
Yeah, Skill Drain, also a card that has a lot of... works well together with the Qliphort archetype, because you don't really mind if your monsters don't have an effect when half of them say, you can normal summon me, and I will go down to 1,800 attack.
Negating that, then you suddenly got a field full of 2,400 and 2,800 attack monsters.
Right, so the card that Callum has drawn into is a Dust Tornado, so another protection against the many, well, spell and trap cards, and especially the pendulum monsters that go into the pendulum zone. And he just activated that when Paolo was going for another search. Paolo did draw into a second copy of Skill Drain. It's not really what he needs right now.
Okay, the disc comes out and Solemn Warning takes it down. And that does go to the graveyard there, if anybody was wondering. If you negate the summon of a Qliphort monster, it goes directly to the graveyard.
Oh, that's a very good draw from Callum, isn't it? That's a...
Now he has the sacrifice, he has the carrier, he has the scout. He could go for the disc. I believe he may be doing. He's thinking about it. It's there on the top of his deck. But there's so much in front of Paolo that it's just going to put him off. But if we actually look at Paolo's field there, you can see.
There we go.
That there really is nothing there.
Yeah.
At all.
It
I
looks,
mean, if
it
he plays the skill,
threatening.
If he plays the skill drain, then he's going to be helping his opponent.
Yeah.
The sacrifices just aren't helping him right now with no monsters.
He's going to pay
equip it
1,000 life points just to activate skill drain, and then he's taking even more damage from these.
And he's taking the bluff.
So sacrifice a card if you're not familiar with it. It only works with a Qliphort monster or Qli monster that you already have on the field.
And he lets it sit there, basically, be able to be 2 tributes, just to be able to bring out that disc. The alternative of disc is Qliphort Shell. Some people main deck one of those, just because it's as big as disc, and can attack twice. Now, Qliphort also have an effect, which is that they are unaffected by the effects of monsters that are a lower level than them. So it's just a
what is Callum searching for here? Like, what's his #1 target?
Now, with disc, he could bring out generally 2 more discs. I believe he may have actually just drawn into that. He's paid 800. I think he's just going to go full force. The skill drain there, stopping the disc from special summoning 2. The scout then getting.
Yeah, so it's actually, for Paolo, it's not that bad to flip skill drain in this situation.
It was the sacrifice there, sorry, that got the scout. Because when sacrifice is destroyed, it goes to the graveyard, and he can get a Qli card from the deck to hand.
Right. And in this camera angle, you can see that we got 2 volunteers standing behind the players that are providing us with all that information that we can show to you guys here. So Paolo did draw into Performapal Trampolinx.
Right, Performapal Trampolinx, one of the best cards in this deck. You pay 800 to search with Scout. You use Trampolinx and Scout to then Pendulum Summon, which returns Scout to your hand, and then you can play Scout again, and then pay another 800 life points and get another card.
But with 1,700 life points, that doesn't sound like the best plan, does it?
Now, that's not Paolo that's got that there, is it? Is it?
Yeah, it's Paolo who was got the card.
Right, he set it face down.
Yeah.
Okay. Paolo is not in a good position right now, basically.
Not at all, no.
And it's becoming quite clear that Callum realizes this.
Yeah, he sees there are 3 face down cards and a monster set, but they don't seem to be able to stop my attacks. So he's just going for it. But he's got the scout in the scout is of course in the pendulum zone. This is sometimes a little bit confusing because we cannot really tell the difference. But he's got the disc, the helix, and here he attacks for game, and Paolo just, of course, he doesn't reveal his face down cards. This is something that you sometimes see if a less experienced player is going up against one of the veterans. When he's getting attacked for game, he's flipping his face down cards. He's like, yeah, I got nothing, and showing his opponent, oh, these are the cards in my deck. And the veteran will always be like, well, thank you for that extra information.
Pretty much.
I'm going to make a lot of use with that in the following 2 rounds.
Now it's time for the side deck.
Yeah. So this is where the cards that you mentioned before from Callum are going to come in.
Possibly. I mean, he's looking at what just happened there, and I would be wondering whether it would be worth deciding every single one, especially with the win so easy. But that's a trap that you can fall into. Yeah. Because that just means that his deck didn't work on that occasion.
It looks like the siding action is mostly on Paolo in this situation, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And he is siding quite a few cards there by the look of it as well, from what we can see from our camera angle.
Yeah, we got a second camera, so we always know whether the camera is on us, which can be sometimes a little bit intimidating. You can, of course, tell. And sometimes we get a second camera which shows us what the players are doing at all times. So even if sometimes there's a ruling dispute on the table, so a judge needs to come over and sometimes translate something, which is a very frequent thing in Europe with so many different languages being spoken. And sometimes it's just a normal rulings question.
Usually, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, do we see anything super interesting from Paolo here?
Oh. I can see. Well, I've not really seen what Paolo's been doing there, but I've just seen Callum put the spell shattering arrows into a short list. So that's going to be are going to be coming to see.
That's
play
not very surprising.
But it looks like he's just taking out Vanity's Emptiness, which is interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, Vanity's Emptiness, one of the most format-defining cards of the recent months, I would say. When it first came out, some players were like, oh, I'm not sure about this card. It has a very even effect. It affects both players evenly. It doesn't allow you to special summon any monsters anymore. However, most of the time you just assemble your field, put like 3 monsters there, special summon them, and then you flip Vanity's Emptiness.
Yep.
So your opponent cannot do the same. And this makes a very big difference.
Some interesting sides.
Yeah, Paolo
really
seems to be done already with the siding. He's already shuffling. While Callum is still going over the cards. He's... I think it looks like Upstart Goblin is going out. No. That would be interesting, because Upstart Goblin is... it's a card that some argue about when especially when Soul Charge came out, whether you still want to run Upstart Goblin.
Yes. Yeah.
At the moment, is there anything like keeping you from playing that card?
Basically, the possibility that your opponent is going to be playing Qliphort is one of the major ones. But also, Soul Charge is still a threat. In quite a few decks, not necessarily in Qli, but definitely in decks like Yang Zing.
Right, so this is very interesting. Callum is also changing the sleeves, just to make perfectly sure that all of his sleeves are in the same condition. This can sometimes be a problem when you're playing with extremely shiny sleeves, that after the first game or after a few rounds of playing, that the side deck cards will still look like fresh.
Yeah.
And the other cards, or the sleeves, will look very used. And then you can tell the difference between the cards in your deck, the main deck and the side deck cards. And this, of course, can give you a big advantage, that you know, oh, I'm going to draw into that side deck card in one turn. And if you're only loading your side deck with strong answers against a deck like Qliphort, then this is a big advantage. And you're going to get penalized for that.
Yeah, yeah, you will. You don't want to get stung, especially an event at this level, for having marked sleeves.
So this is the safe approach that Callum went with. It looks a little weird here, like he's playing memory. Right, and these are the cards that were sided out. Quite interesting.
Well, some of them yes, some of them no. Some of them was his shortlist. It's interesting that he's playing Dark Bribe, because Dark Bribe is one of those things that people stopped playing because giving your opponent a draw was such an advantage for them.
Right.
And
So
a lot of people just started playing 7 Tools of the Bandit and kind of brought it back. But if you're playing it in Qliphort, you really don't want to be spending life points when you've got more important things to spend life points on.
Yeah. So one thing we're going to do this weekend again is ask you guys what do you think is gonna win. So we're gonna run some polls this weekend where you can cast your vote, and the question here is, do you think that who's gonna take the second game? Is it gonna be Callum or is it gonna go Paolo? Very easy, just use the commands that we have on the right hand side of the screen. So you can cast your vote and tell us whether you think that the Italian will come back or whether the UK will take the whole match by storm. So here we got the hand from Paolo loading in first.
And that's unfortunate to get 2 Trample Lynxes in your hand, especially because the effect, you want to have something else.
Yeah.
You don't want a pendulum lock
and
yourself.
he doesn't have a searcher to get his hands on the scout. So it's not looking too good here now, is it?
Now they're both running Dust Tornado, which is nice to see. It's always nice to see older cards come back. Now, there's a Scout Summoner's Art, which is great because, especially if you're going second, like what just happened there, and your Scout gets destroyed, just search for another one. Simple as.
Yeah. So Paolo went first. He set a Mystical Space Typhoon and a Dust Tornado. He uses the Dust Tornado first, not that surprising, because it's mostly the slightly worse card. I mean, if you have them both in your hand, because you can activate the Mystical Space Typhoon the turn you draw into it.
Yeah. But Summoners are getting another scout. Fortunately, that scout is probably going to get Mystical Space Typhooned. And that is, unfortunately, then setting up Callum for a fall.
Yeah, he already lost 2 of his scouts there. So it doesn't seem like he's going to have a lot of searching.
There's the Mystical Space Typhoon.
Yep, no surprise there.
So I believe that should be 1,600 life points off of Callum.
Yeah.
And another 1,000 onto Paolo.
And he makes the gap even larger. Interestingly enough, he first tried to thin out his deck with the search effects.
Oh, and he draws into his 3rd Summoner's Art.
Wow, that is really strong.
It's lucky.
Yeah, this is really like, Paolo needs an answer for that last scout.
And he just doesn't have one.
Yeah, not at this point in time. He doesn't. He can bounce it back with trampolines, but I don't think that's going to be the plan here.
No.
So this is very, very good news for all the UK fans out there. Callum just running through 3 copies of his scout on his opening turn. His opponent Paolo having an answer to 2 of them, but the third time is the charm in this situation. He does get to search, and
it's very interesting that he didn't go for the win this turn.
yeah, he now...
Because with the 2 scouts there in the extra deck, he would have been able to easily pendulum summon.
Both
if he would
of
have
them.
searched for the disc,
Yeah.
he would have been able to bring out the disc and then essentially win that turn.
Is the sacrifice...
The sacrifice wouldn't have been needed, simply because
Yeah.
he already has 2 scouts there in his extra deck that he could have pendulum summoned out.
All right, so what are we missing here?
It's basically...
The Helix... I mean, everything...
If he would have searched... Oh, but that's a good point. He did have 2 helixes in his hand rather than a carrier. So the sacrifice is setting it up there. Monarch Storm 4th there, tributing.
Oh, that's most likely a card from the side. Oh,
Tributing for a carrier, which is interesting because then it has an effect to put 1 card back into... Well, 1 monster card back into hand on your opponent's side of the field. Not quite sure why that was there, but sacrifice going to the graveyard.
Did
Now going
Paolo
to get
have
the carrier?
any other moves that he could go for?
Not necessarily, but he's getting the carrier off the field. Unfortunately, with this, well, the helix, sorry, but then with the sacrifice, he's just going to replace it.
All right.
And if Paolo really doesn't have any answers, then he's... If this next turn is played correctly, it's going to be the last turn.
Might be over in just a second, yeah. And Paolo, you can tell by his demeanor here, he's not looking too happy. Quite the opposite, I would say. And Callum checking everything again, making sure that the life points are correct. I mean, it doesn't look like it when you look at the life points. Is Callum really at 3,200?
Yes.
After that attack,
because of the attack and because of the...
Yeah. But it doesn't matter that much. Qliphort doesn't really mind being low on life points.
No.
As long as it can go for that one big play. And this is what's happening here. This is the pendulum summon. No, he first searches, okay.
Which
Not
should
surprising.
be a search for disc.
All right, let's see if
And there's the disc.
There's the disc.
Yeah. The play is going to go very similarly to just pendulum summoning, tribute summoning, special summoning 2 from his deck, and then winning.
Yeah, he's already having his hand on his extra deck with the face up pendulum monsters. There they are. And
I believe that was is that 2 helixes he's just special summoned, or?
we're going to have that in just a second, yeah.
Now, Helix's tribute effect isn't really helping here. It just destroys the spell trap card on your opponent's side of the field. But with 2 discs, he's playing...
And this is
2 carriers.
What Qliphort really does best.
Yeah.
Such an explosive turn.
Now, there's a Book of Moon there in hand, which means that he didn't necessarily need to do that. And I believe that isn't quite enough to win.
You see, short like just a few life points, right?
Yeah.
But
it's very, very close.
Yeah.
Those 2 get destroyed at the end of the turn, which is fine because he's got these 2 pendulum cards. Oh, there's the Spell Shattering Arrow. Doesn't necessarily actually help.
Doesn't really get rid of the cards on the field, the monsters on the field.
It's going to deal 1,000 damage to his opponent, but unfortunately that's just not enough.
Yeah, still 1,400 remaining for Callum. And Paolo, with the trampolines, he can, well, defend himself from one attack, but there's of
second.
course a second monster.
Okay, he's oh, and there's Mystical Space Typhoon in the end phase.
So he can't even use the spell shattering arrow. And that is it.
Yep, that is it.
That is it for our
Paolo
first.
very admirably just playing it out.
Yeah, this is a little bit like adding insult to injury, isn't it?
And he's just summoned a bunch of monsters in one turn.
Which is no longer illegal. You can do it even when you don't have as much money as Kaiba. It's a lot easier.
Oh,
than
and
it used to be.
he's searched for another disc, tribute something to the disc, carrier's effect, bounces that back to hand, and
Yeah,
there you go.
and now
There's the
Paolo
win.
is like, okay, yeah, that's it. You've shown me. You know how this deck works.
That's the true power of
This
football.
is not his deck list. This is his field.
Yes.
This is what the Qliphort archetype can do. You have seen it in the first round feature match. Might be looking not that impressive if it goes up against another Qliphort deck, but
Yes.
they can do that against any deck in the field, really.
Pretty much.